As I'd said on a previous video, I actually didn't realize that I had an attention problem until my memory started to go. And I noticed this after I left meetings and I'd forgotten the detail within like 24 hours. It wasn't even like a case of vaguely forgetting, it was like almost like slate wiped clean. And ultimately I thought there was something wrong with me and that my mind was broken. And the end result of this that I've worked out was that I was just being interrupted to death. The brain wasn't getting the chance to encode the information. But today I want to follow on from that video and I want to take it a step further and I want to tell you about one thing that has actually helped. Now, before I even start and tell you this one thing, I want to kind of give you one key, almost foundational building block is you cannot fix screen time and get it down unless you create physical distance between you and your phone. I know of no other way. I have played with this for years. You need a barrier between you and the device. Now, maybe like many of you, I got my first smartphone in and around 2010, but by 2015, I had started to realize there was a problem. And I have spent certainly the last 5 years of my life really trying to get to grips with this, but I find it's a case of feast or famine. So much of my life is whether I'm on something or off it, but with the phone it's been feast or famine. I either completely quit or I go completely bonkers on it. There is very little stable middle ground. I would have said at first I thought it was social media, and of course it was because I got into things like Facebook and everything else. But for me, ultimately what the real hook was, and it was even through social media that was hooking me, it was the news cycle, the news apps, the political commentary, the pundits reacting to other pundits. Then we have the comments at the bottom of the newspaper things. Then we have YouTube and all the talking heads there. And then you go into the comments, hours, days, gone, wasted, never getting them back, and the news cycle moves on. I can't even remember the things I was getting angry about in 2017. Then, on another hand, do you remember those, occasionally we'll see it, those TikTok videos where you get retail workers who guess how much they've spent in their own store, and they're holding a sheet of paper with the number on it, and then they get to look at it. I think if this was me, this is kind of how I feel about my phone. If I actually calculated the time and the hours that I haven't put into this thing, I think I would feel physically sick. I might say, I'll show you my screen time if you show me yours, but I would have to say here, my average screen time probably sits at about 3.5 to 4 hours a day. Some days it's inflated because of certain types of work or maybe traveling in the car and using Google Maps, but 3.5 hours to 4 hours is a baseline. Let me know what yours is like. I suspect it's, well, who knows where it'll fall. You tell me. But here's the change that I've made, and I've reliably cut about 1 hour a day consistently out of my phone use over the last month or so. And part of that is simple physical distancing, putting the phone in another room, putting it in the drawer, not carrying it around, making sure it's not connected to me. The other small part, or the other, well, not even small, but the other more significant part that I've stumbled across is an app. And I feel faintly ridiculous admitting this. It involves a little bean in the app. And I use this whenever my phone is in close proximity to me and I have to, I can't quite get rid of it. The app is called Focus Friend. So look it up in the App Store or the Android or the Google Store, Focus Friend. It's free. I would say it's reduced my screen time by about 30 to 40% a week. Now, I've tried other apps which promise reduced screen time, such as simplified interfaces. I think that one was called Gamified. And then there was another one whose name I can't remember, but it was added friction where you had to wait 10, 15 seconds before you could actually get to the app. But in every case, I just found ways around them and just went straight to what I was looking for. This one seems to work differently. Now, how it is that you have a room in the app, and inside it you have a small bean character, and then you set a focus session, and you can pick your time, anything from I think 5 minutes all the way up to 2 hours, and you start it, and then Bean starts knitting socks. He knits 1 sock per minute. So if you stay off your phone for 30 minutes, you get 30 socks. And socks buy furniture, pictures, and even if you knit enough socks, you can buy then new rooms, and the world expands ultimately as you focus. I think there's actually a metaphor in there as well. But here's the key moment. As soon as you put the phone down or you're working away after 5 minutes, almost habitually you'll go to pick up your phone without thinking. And when you do pick it back up, you open up the phone, and straight away you will see a screen in front of you saying Bean is working, or whatever name you give your little bean. I say, do you really want to disturb him? And you're kind of guilted at that point, saying, no, I don't think I will. And most of the time I don't. And here's the interesting thing. If you do disturb him, it's not a crisis. Fine, you can go in, but the bean looks really sad. And it's like, it's okay. We can try again tomorrow, or we can try again later. And somehow there's just something about a sense of guilt about this. It's gamified. It's relational. It's I can never say this word, anthropomorphized, almost like this tool that you use, this thing that normally controls you, and for a reason I can't fully explain, it actually seems to work. Whenever I go to it, if it reminds me, no, you can't access your phone, and I've got only 20 minutes to wait. I wait until the session finishes, and then I'll maybe even forget to look at the phone again, or whatever I was wanting to look for is past. Or if I do look at it, I'll look at it again, and then I'll set the timer going again for maybe another 30 minutes or an hour or so. One final thought. We hear that 10,000 hours equals mastery. And that's the common jargon, or not even jargon, it's the common kind of standard which people will say how you are able to be a master if you invest 10,000 hours of time in something. I think the phone reaches that probably faster than we would like, but yet with no palpable or demonstrable result that comes from it. But the real problem, I think, okay, yes, hours are an issue, but the real problem isn't the hours, it's the fragmentation. It's, even I think if you even used your phone for 3 hours a day, that would nearly be okay. But I think it's the fact that we use our phone to break the flows, to check in, and for reasons I discussed yesterday, to whenever we feel friction, we check it. And it's that pickup, it's those interruptions, those breaks in attention, those ruptures in thought. That's what kills memory. That's what kills the depth. And I think Cal Newport, and I heard him talking one time, and he made the point that if you were to get a guy who was trying to quit smoking, what the last thing you would do is get a packet of cigarettes in his hand and tape around it, because that would make smoking almost impossible. Yet we expect people to reduce their phone addiction or to reduce their screen time, but somehow they keep the phone in their hand. So yes, what I'm saying to you is distance matters. Have a drawer, have a room, have a deliberate window set aside every day to check it. But if you can't do that, something like this little app, Focus Friend, I find is very helpful. It's not magic, but I think if you're built in a certain way, you will it will work for you. And I have found that it helped me enormously, because I think the one thing I want to kind of conclude on is like attention. And I touched on this the other video, it's not just productivity. Attention shapes memory, and then memory shapes the meaning that we take or give to the world. And meaning, I think, once it's gone, it's very, very hard to get back. So my final line to you is stop negotiating with your phone. Start putting some physical distance between you and it. And if you can't, think about an app like Focus Friend. And I think that you'll find it may just help you. It certainly helped me.